What's up? What's happening, everybody? This is John Kitchens. This is episode 65 of Expert Mentors Live. And I am very, very excited for today's episode. We've got the one and only Miss Hollie Kitchens on, and we're going to talk a little DIY podcast. Probably definitely answer some questions. So make sure to throw it in the Q&A, throw it in the chat, and we'll definitely, I'm sure, talk about some other things as well. So, Ms. Hollie, say hello to the Honey Badger Nation.
What is going on, everyone? I am so excited about today and kind of like flipping roles being on here. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on, and I know definitely diving into a hot topic, a topic that's kind of on everybody's radar for sure. And either they're trying to execute or they've been thinking about it. They just don't know where to start. And what a great topic in a easy format of how you're going to walk everybody through it today. So let's jump in.
Sweet. Okay, cool. Let me share this screen with you guys real quick. Let's see here. Cool. So see if I can share that. Can you see my screen that way?
Perfect.
Oh, wait. Whoop. Is it gone a little again? Hold on a minute. Hold the phone.
You had it.
I'm trying to get it all squared away real quick. Okay, cool. So perfect. Well, I'm super excited because this is such an easy way that anyone literally can implement, and it got a lot easier for those who were at the Key West Mastermind. Wait, it wasn't Key West. Where were we at? Cincinnati. Yeah. And Mike had talked about Anchor, and that really excited me because I was already passionate about helping people out with their podcast, but now having the opportunity to have such an easy platform that's free. So I've kind of it's kind of helped me kind of make it even easier for you guys. So let's just go right into it. And I'm a little bit quirky. You guys will find out. Because yeah, it's definitely going to show, my quirkiness is going to show in this presentation, but this is me. This is being funny, real, sarcastic. I don't know. That's just how I roll. Anyways, so why a podcast? I mean, podcast is such an easy, fun way to create content to your customers, your clients, attract new customers, establish authority. I don't know. It's really endless. And if you're anything like me, I hate video. I'm not sure what it is about video, but I hate it. I'm more of a picture, audio person. That's it, not video. So podcast is a great way for me to be on a platform to reach these people without having to do a bunch of video all the time. And then also, if you're doing video, you can just simply rip that audio, and now you have another channel to connect with people and attract people too. So it's a win-win for if you're a video, not video person. So I'm just going to talk to you guys real quick about my journey and how I got into podcasting. And my best friend, Donna, so she's in West Virginia, and growing up, her and I loved some CKY. Yes, we're nerds. Yes, we're little rebellious little kids. We thought we were cool, whatever. But so CKY was playing at Warped Tour here in Dallas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how fun would that be? At the time I was trying to or thinking about launching a blog for the boutique at the time that I had, which was geared toward concert goers. And one of the e-commerce coaches that I was coaching with, he had said, well, what are you doing different than Amazon? What are you doing different than anyone else that, that are selling clothes? Clothes are everywhere. So it made me think oh, you know what? We can start interviewing musicians because it's a concert-based boutique. And then it's kind of a fun, you get to ask questions of their favorite artists. We're going to meet them, whatever. So right. I was going to do a blog. Well, then I reached out to Jess Margera, who's in CKY. He's Bam Margera's brother. And I just said, hey, this is who we are. Would love the opportunity to interview you. If not, totally cool. Just grateful for the music you guys do. And he had responded back and said, sure, or something like that. I was like, yes, for sure. And it's funny because that's just how he is, very yeah, whatever. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And I text Donna. I'm like, dude, you've got to book a flight. I don't care how it's going to happen, but you got to get here in Dallas because I'm going to interview Jess. And she's like, no way. So she comes over, and then we've got Jamie Jost on there too, that tour. And you remember we were sitting at the dinner table and talking about the blog. And I'm like, man, I feel like this is going to be bigger than a blog. And then I don't know how it happened, but we were like, dude, this should be a podcast. Like, this will be fun. Like, her and I are going to co-host this stuff because she's literally the yin to my yang. Like, Donna's the funniest person you'll ever meet. And it's just, I don't know. She just cracks me up. So it was like literally perfect because we both got to collaborate and host this podcast. And then, you know, we were at Vans Warped Tour. We had to like sneak past security to go back to the tour buses because we didn't have press passes. Like, we didn't have the authority to go back to where we needed to go, but we're also not going to ask these musicians like, hey, can you sneak us back? Because we aren't trying to be like, you know, we wanted to look a little bit professional. So we sneak back there, whatever. And we're talking afterwards. We actually got invited to the PBR, like it was a PBRQ. So it was fun just being able to hang out with all the artists, drinking PBR, eating like hot guacamole that was in the sun all day. I don't know. It was fun. I'm not sure how we didn't die from food poisoning, but that's just a fun little story. That's how it started. Well, then the next year was like the last year of Vans Warped Tour. And we applied to get our press passes. We were trying to be professional because we realized, okay, we're too old to be sneaking back behind all access. So we applied for it. And then we get turned down because so many people are applying. It's the last leg of the Warped Tour, whatever. And I'm driving. I'm like, man, like there has to be another way. So I did two things. And I reached out to the media company that was in charge of like the press passes. And I just said, hey, we would love the opportunity. If you guys have anybody that's like backed out last minute, not able to cover it, we would love the opportunity. Press passes. And almost immediately got like a reply of no, like sorry, but no. And I'm like, dang. And I was like, but before that, when I sent that email, I also sent an email to Kevin Lyman. And it's just a Google search of like Kevin Lyman's email address. And I'm like, whatever, if it sticks, you know, throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And I just said, hey, Kevin, hope you're having a rad time or Tuesday. I can't remember what the email was about, but it's just very much like, hey, this is who we are. We got declined, but we'd love the opportunity still if you guys have any room. And then you can see his reply back was, hey, Holly, I'm sure we can exchange your tickets for press passes. It was funny because almost like an hour later after their media company had told me no, he had sent this and CC'd worked like all the people that just told us no. So I was like, oh my God, they're probably thinking, okay, really, Brett? But you know what I mean? Like, you just always find some cool ways to connect and get into it.
And give some context. Kevin Lyman, who is he?
So Kevin Lyman is like the founder of the tour. Like, he literally is like, that's why Warped Tour's coming to an end, is because he's retiring, and there's literally no one else that could put as much heart, passion into it like Kevin does.
Right. And that's a great lesson. I think that's a takeaway for everybody listening in to this episode, is that, you know, do not be afraid to ask anybody, you know, just some context around that. I think Hollie's one of the best at it. I think you got over that initial fear or initial hurdle. And it's like, so what? I mean, if they say no, they say no. And
no one's going to die.
Yeah, nobody's going to die. So being able to not be afraid to ask those questions and ask anybody. And you'll see here in just a minute, just kind of a lineup of people that she has interviewed or is going to interview in here in a second. Is there anything else that you know, little tips and tricks and insights of trying to, you know, reach out and connect with other people?
Yeah, for sure. So like, I always like to go after the people, just because I feel like you get to connect with them, and you know, you've got to like, don't ever say like, oh, well, that person's not gonna respond to me because they're too big, or that person, like, so what if they don't respond? They don't respond. They get 562,000 probably messages a day, so don't get offended. But right. Also keep at it too, right? Like, just keep sending them, or I mean, don't become a stalker, but yeah. You know, just be persistent. You know, it's if you go through, like, I think Twitter was where Kevin's, like after I did the search, I just tapped in like Kevin Lyman email address, and I had found where it was like a Twitter post from like, I don't know, a couple years back. And he had replied to someone and said, hey, email me, here's my email. I'm like, okay, cool, copy and paste that. So like, just
Be
find.
resourceful. That's amazing.
Be resourceful. Google's, easy. Also, like if you're wanting to be in touch with people, like, if you don't get a response back from them, like who's their gatekeeper, and then try to be in their network too, right? So it's connecting with them. And if that's not successful, then maybe who are they connected with? So like for me, getting connected with Perry Belcher and all those people like Roland Frazier, to me, I feel like that outlet might've been Maury. And Maury is a guy who's very professional, very highly sought after, very respected in the industry of business. And so they know that people who connected with Maury they're going to be like legit or for real people, sure. Right? So like, it's a lower barrier of entry. It's like, okay, so like if Maury knows this girl, she has to be like somewhat, has to know something, sure. Right? Or has to, what I mean? She's not a time waster. So it's like trying to connect with those people and then getting in their circle that way. Also, if you go through, like, for instance, with like some of the musicians, if you go through and you can find out who like their media company is, maybe reaching out to them, because a lot of their responsibility is to get promotions for the bands and people like that. So always find out who their publicist is, always finding out the opportunity. And then, what's the worst they can say is no. And then always follow up like, hey, I reached out with you earlier this year. You said that he wasn't taking interviews at this time. Just want to touch back and see if he's open any availability left in his calendar. So it's just always being resourceful and asking.
Sure. Absolutely. And just to give some more context, the initial podcast idea was, like you were saying, right. You had, the niche online boutique for concert goers, concertees. And so, the name of the podcast was Teaser Talk. And within that podcast, I think you used it as an outlet just to connect and have fun with people as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Shoot, you reached out to the dude that played Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo
Matthew Lillard,
in the Scream movies. Just because he was on a movie that you guys loved, right? And I mean, the dude even, you sent him a shirt, and he even took a picture of the shirt. So I mean, there's all kinds of fun interactive ways, just to establish and build connections and build relationships.
Yeah, I think with like social media and then just the world as it is today, it's so easy to get access to these people, and they're people, so it's not like, what I mean. Like, and another thing too is like I never reached out being like a crazy fan person. Like, what I mean? Like, I'm not showing you my tattoo of whatever, being crazy behavior. Sure. But it's just, being respectful, but then also like finding out, so what is it that they're wanting to give back? If it's somebody that's like, if they're trying to give value back, hey, let me give your value out on this platform and stuff like that. So it's always asking them. Or connecting with them, and always like, it's not about you as a person, but it's also like, what's in it for them? How can you give them exposure? How, a lot of those people like you connect with, like they're at a place where I feel like I can't give anything back to them of value. However, I can give them a platform to share their story so that somebody else can listen to it and be inspired. So Teaser Talk, we took that podcast. It's kind of backburnered right now. We still have it going. We've got this Friday, we're going to interview Third Eye Blind, so that's fun. But it's not a weekly consistent basis as it used to be. So, the boutique got rebranded, what was it, like last year, right? Mm-hmm. And I was kind of craving that content, that outlet of podcasting. Donna was doing nursing school. She's out now, and she's a nurse, but she was so consumed with school that she didn't have that much time. So I felt like, man, I can't do it without my girl. So then I was like, you know what, like, let's just do another podcast. So taking the same kind of theme, and it's Lady Legend Boutique, and now this is Unleash Your Inner Legend podcast, right? So it's kind of using the same fonts, kind of using that similarity to keep that brand consistency. And also with the DIY Legend, as you can see the bottom right-hand screen, the logo, it's all kind of like theme consistent, right? So it's brand recognition, and then it's always tying back to the same thing.
That's a great nugget for everybody too, is just maintain that brand consistency. I know it's something that, we've struggled with and we've battled with. I mean, it's so damn confusing. And, Hollie's done a great job. I think the best example is Virgin, right? The Virgin brand that, Richard Branson has done a magnificent job. Like, he's the poster child for brand consistency within everything they do. And you've done a fantastic job with that. So that's a great lesson for everybody, listening in.
For sure. And like, this is literally stuff that I've created myself. I did use Photoshop, but if you aren't creative, or if you aren't, if you don't know much of how to operate Photoshop, go to Canva, Canva. If you're not a member of it, do it. It's like the most amazing thing ever. Like, it's my favorite go-to thing for templates. And that's just a great way to keep the brand consistency going as well. So anyway, launched Unleash Your Inner Legend podcast. And I was thinking, like, I've reached these people already. I'm just going to take the same kind of outline and copy and paste it into like this world, right? Like the world of entrepreneurship. So reached out to people, got them on the show, like John Lee Dumas, Satim Anali, Ryan Stewman, Maury Shoaki, Kat Rather, got Rachel Share. Her episode's dropping today. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be interviewing Mike McCallowicks, who's Profit First Guy. And then a couple of days ago, I did interview Roland Frazier. And just so like you guys know, I feel like a lot of people get hung up on podcasts because they overthink it, and they overthink, like, what am I selling? What's going to be the call to action? And I'm talking to you, Mr. John Kitchens, because I've been trying to get you to launch your podcast. And you're always like, well, but what am I going to sell? You don't have to sell something. It's, to me, the Unleash Your Inner Legend podcast is a way that I'm creating creating awareness of brand. I'm establishing authority. I'm growing my network. I mean, yesterday I woke up with a message in my inbox from Roland saying, hey, if there's any way I can ever help you in business, just let me know. Well, Roland's philosophy is he's not a paid consultant. You couldn't buy his time. However, he likes to invest his knowledge and time into businesses that he might be able to have a business interest in, right? Like, own. Yep. So it's like, it's not so much of having to sell stuff, but it's like the connection and the networking alone. Like, I don't know, to me, that makes it worth it for sure.
Right, for sure. And, for those of you, Roland's business partners with Ryan Dyson, digital marketer, along with Perry. You don't even have a picture of Perry on here, but you've also interviewed him. And then for those of you guys don't know, Mr. JLD himself right there, he is neighbors with the GOAT, Gene Frederick, down in Puerto Rico. And but John Lee Dumas is he has Entrepreneur on Fire, and I think it's worth and I don't want to hang up here. We can keep rolling, but what John Lee Dumas shared with you that was really, really powerful, and his whole strategy, right? He does a podcast every day. He has for I don't know how many years. He releases a podcast. But what was that, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest nuggets that I took away from podcasting all year, was his little bit of advice that he shared with you about being on as many podcasts as you can.
Yeah, for sure. So, his message, and I'd love for you guys to go back and listen to it. If you just go to the podcast and listen to the JLD episode, it's crazy good stuff. It's like the best 15, 20 minutes. If you're looking to get into podcasting, definitely listen to that episode. But his biggest takeaway, and I'm with you, like like I started measuring that metric, was convert the already converted. So if you're trying to get people to listen to your podcast, you're going to want to reach to people who are already listening to the podcast, right? You're going to want to convert the converted. They're already fans of podcasts. They've subscribed. He said the average person listens to 7 podcasts. And he's like, I'm not trying to replace you. I'm just trying to be one of the other 6 that they listen to. So he spends like one day a month, and he's like on like 20 podcasts. I think he's like on 25 podcasts a day. And they were 15-minute blocks. And he just sits there and he's just always, converting the converted. And so now I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm looking at this all wrong. I need to start measuring how many podcasts I'm going to be on. So now I'm starting to like, find other people and connect with other people and get on their show because their listeners obviously listen to the podcast.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Cool. So hopefully like that has helped you guys and your wheels are kind of turning. You're kind of thinking, okay, this doesn't have to be a boring real estate podcast or boring show. I know Kyle and Dan that are doing a podcast. They're like doing pubcast type style, right?
Yep.
So it's not like the whole, like, this is how you make an offer. This is how, like, real estate it doesn't have to be boring or whatever you're passionate about. Like, you don't have to do a podcast, I guess, on real estate. You can do a podcast on music, or you can do a podcast on whatever it is that you're passionate about, and then somehow to see if you can marry the two. If you enjoy IPA beers, maybe go around to your local breweries or go around to your local pubs, and every episode you have it over a glass of IPA, the local, kind of getting in businesses and real estate, and maybe interviewing with an investor, maybe interviewing with a builder, maybe, you know what I mean? Like those types of things, like thinking outside the box of it is just, I don't know. It's like, it makes it limitless. Like you can literally pick whatever you want it to do.
Absolutely.
Let your personality show through it. Like if you want to be silly, be silly. If you want to be serious, be serious. I mean, there's no rules. I mean, if it's not hurting anybody, I think, or offending anyone, it's serious. I mean, you can't lose. So enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. Let's start working on your podcast here and go through. So I would love to take the opportunity, and I'll post this PDF that I'm about to share with you guys in the comments, but you guys can literally just take out a piece of paper and write along with me on this. But let's go ahead and I'm going to share this other screen real quick. Hold the phone. Sorry, you guys. I have like way too many tabs open. Cool. So this is the framework I created. It's not anything. It's not the exact way how to, it's just the way I found to get creative, like structure within my creative, crazy brain. So first and foremost, like, why do you want to start this podcast? Is it because you're trying to get authority? Is it trying to establish networking? Is it trying to maybe get more commercial clients? I know Kat had just released built her podcast that is geared towards commercial, like her commercial clients. So she's going through and talking about hot topics and things like that within the commercial real estate industry, because there's just nothing like that exists right now. So I'm literally going to take the one that I had filled out for going through this process. I'm just going to copy and paste just so you guys can kind of get an idea of what it was. So, first it's why. Why do you want to do this? And to me, it aligned with my why to inspire people to let go of limiting beliefs so that they can unleash their inner legend and live the life they're intended to. The next is, who is your listener and how's your podcast going to help them? So my answer to that one, and you guys excuse all the grammar errors and stuff like this, because I literally just freehand all this stuff. But it's growers, thinkers, others with an open mind to learn from icons. This podcast will help them by breaking down the life lessons of content to help them get inspiration. The next question to ask yourself is, what makes your podcast different from any other podcast? So what are you doing that's a little differently than, say, the other real estate agent that has a podcast? Because podcasts are super common. So this particular podcast will be different in the sense that it will be a unique perspective of myself sitting down with legends talking through their life choices. So it's going to be conversations that I'm having with people that I know, right? Like, not too many other people can bring that. There's only one me, thank goodness. And I know I'm kind of going through this like a little quickly, but these are just questions that you guys need to start thinking about, because it's almost like pieces of puzzle. Get these pieces laid out, and then you can start putting them together, and then it's going to be super easy. Next is, what kind of a style of podcast will this be? And there's not like it doesn't have to strictly be just solo, or it doesn't have to be just co-hosted or just interview style. You can have a mix. Maybe you have like on Monday, you have Motivation Monday, and it's yourself talking, just maybe talking about the week or the wins, whatever, lessons learned that previous week. And then maybe on Wednesday, you have an interview with a business owner, or, you know what I mean? Like, you can get creative with it. So it doesn't have to be one way. But for me, this one's going to be interview style. And then I am actually looking to add more, because more is definitely better when it comes to dropping podcast episodes. And right now it's weekly, and I would like to get to 2 a week instead of just 1 a week. But for the commitment, I didn't want to overcommit myself. So it's just once a week. Next is going to be your name of your podcast. And definitely, I mean, obviously you needed to take some time and think about what brand, whatever it is that you're wanting to launch, maybe making sure that it's consistent. But you can always change it. Like, this is your show, this is your rules, this is your platform. So don't get so hung up where you're like, okay, I like it, but this is going to stop me from launching it. Cool. Like, if I don't like Unleash Your Inner Legend, maybe it's Life Lessons with Legends, or whatever it is. I can always change it. It's so crazy easy to change. And then whatever name you came up with, try to purchase the exact domain. Now, if it's something that's like kind of cliche or kind of something that's common, maybe you can add the word podcast at the end. So maybe it's Unleash Your Inner Legend podcast.com. That could be, an easy way, or the Unleash Your Inner Legend podcast.com.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. We've got, we just launched on the coaching side. We just launched the Growth Guys podcast. We have growthguys.com, but it was podcast. So, we went growthguyspodcast.com. So it's the same way.
And the next is going to be tagline. So whatever tagline you want to come with. And so what I do when people I interview them on the show, I like to give them a little thank you. And it's something that's just kind of obviously a lot of these people, if you can give them Starbucks gift card, whatever it is, but I like to give them something that they probably don't want to throw away, or if they do throw it away, they're at least going to touch it. So I have a shirt that I'll send out that says "Live Life Legendary" on it. So it's like, what maybe your tagline or something creative that you can come back that's like branded, and everyone loves a good shirt, you know what I mean? And if they don't, then cool, at least it's going to be hung up in their closet, or they're going to at least touch it and then donate it, or whatever it is that they're going to do, but they're still going to get something physical. And then also I went to Vista Print and just got a card, like a postcard with a logo on it on the back, and then just do a handwritten thank you card. So it's always thinking what can you guys start sending out to people that they can, just as a little thank you. It doesn't have to be expensive. So after you get your name, your domain purchase, your tagline, next you want to start doing your logo created and artwork created. So your logo, like I said, I did mine in Photoshop. You can look at Canva. You can outsource it with somebody. Fiverr's okay. It is definitely, you have to probably kiss a couple of frogs before you get to the one you want to get to. Just because there's so many people that display work from other people instead of them doing it. So whatever you do, just get it going. Whatever's going to be the fastest way. If it's not your wheelhouse, definitely then outsource it. The next is going to be your keywords for your podcast. So this is going to be the words that you'll want to use to identify your podcast. What are people going to type in to find it? And then also I need to back up just a little bit. So your artwork created, that's going to be your cover art. So Apple iTunes has your artwork has to be 3,000 by 3,000 pixels. So just making sure you have high quality images. I literally took mine, I did a selfie with a timer against the wall and just slapped the logo on top of it. It's not super fancy, but just doing whatever, but it's not blurry either, right? Let's see here. Okay, in great detail, what will your podcast be about? How long will it be? Who, if any guests, should the listeners expect? How often will you release shows? So again, this is just literally working through and asking yourself these questions. And once you get all these pieces, it's so easy to put the puzzle together. So here, it's going to be approximately 20 minutes long. Podcast will be about people we look up to in business life, etc. on how they become the person that they are today. They will, it will break life lessons, choices. I think I'd say it'll break down. We ain't trying to break life lessons. But anyways, yeah, it'll break down life lessons. It'll, life choices, habits, guests will range from people who fought over diversity to people you think who had success overnight. So the shows will be released weekly. And the great thing too is like, if you guys are doing Facebook Lives, like that's your podcast. Just take it, download that video and drop it into, like, I use GarageBand to edit my episodes. It's free. It's already on your Mac. So I just use it, and it's simple. To me, it's simple. But literally just take your video, drag it and drop it into the platform, and it will convert it into audio. And then you can just delete out the video at the top of it, but it's super simple. Okay, cool. Next is going to be the podcast preparation. So now that we've kind of already identified the who, what, why, all that good stuff, now let's talk about actually preparing to record. It's going to be the intro, outro. So I don't know why, but this is where I get hung up on stuff, and I allow it to, like, oh, I can't release it because I don't have the perfected intro or outro. But then what I did is I would go and listen to my favorite podcast and who I looked up to and aspires to be, and how did they start out their podcast. And a lot of them are just super simple. Like, it's just a little brief, like your elevator pitch as to why you guys should listen into this episode. Then it's like some little music jingle, whatever. And then it's the episode. And then at the end, it's maybe that's going to be where your call to action is, whatever. And I think on Unleash Your Inner Legend, it's just like subscribe at unleashyourinnerlegend.com. So don't get hung up on this. You can go through Fiverr. You can have somebody even do a voiceover. You guys have a voiceover, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And like Fiverr is a great source for this because people can, it sounds very professional. So like an intro. This is Unleash Your Inner Legend, a podcast featuring modern day legends. Like what's a podcast, right? About. So I just did that, and I think I went somewhere and I got some like royalty-free music, just threw it in the background, and my voice, I just recorded this. And then the outro is, I hope you enjoyed this episode. For more inspiration, make sure to subscribe by going to unleashyourinnerlegend.com. Super simple. Same music in the background, jingling behind, whatever. But literally, like, you'll want to save those in a folder on your desktop, and then like in your new episodes, you just drag and drop them and hit them in the beginning and then hit it in the end. Super easy. Actually, the platform I'm going to show you guys, Anchor, is going to be, you don't have to do it on a folder on your computer. It's going to be super easy. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Next is going to be, so your first 3 episodes. Now you want to have at least 3 episodes recorded. And here's why. Is first off, it's almost like Netflix, right? When you guys catch a new series on Netflix, you want to binge watch it. You don't want to watch, okay, this is the pilot. Now what? I'm going to wait 2 more weeks until I get more. So always drop a handful for people to kind of get a taste so that they get to know your platform and everything else. So first one would have been intro on why I started this podcast. So it's just talking about like, okay, this is how it got started. The next one was like, okay, I'm going to talk about how the mindset that I have had and how I got there and stuff like that. And then the first guest was Tracy. And then you're going to put like your schedule to be recording date on there. And this is just a good way to kind of make yourself be committed to it.
Committed to it. Get it in the calendar.
Yep. Okay. Next is going to be like this is just a fun brainstorming session. Is, who do you want on your podcast? What's going to be, and if you don't have guests, then what are some future topics you can talk about? So it's just kind of throwing some people out there. Okay, so now we've prepared, we've got our intro, we've got everything going on. Now it's execution time. So I don't like buying all this equipment. I don't like buying everything until I'm ready to actually do it. And maybe some people are more motivated. If you're more motivated to spend the money, now you got to hurry up and create it to do it. Go ahead and go to this first if you need to. But this is just what works for me. So I've hyperlinked in here like a good microphone, which is around $50, or a better microphone, which is around 120. So those are both Yeti brands. Blue. I think, yeah, Blue's the brand. This one's going to be the Blue Yeti, and this one's going to be the Blue Snowball. create a Google Drive folder. I just like to do this because I keep all my outlines, all of my past like scripts. I don't like scripting word for word to say the podcast just because it's weird. It's kind of like robotish, no
Right.
personality. But I
Yep.
do want to make sure like I ask about like maybe their upcoming book and things like that. So let's see, create your outlines. And I do have an outline too I can share with you guys that might help with you when you're creating all this. Your microphone installed, GarageBand installed. If you're a Mac user, that should already be on there. Register for Zoom. So I like using Zoom, which is what we're on right now. We've tried Blue Jeans before. The quality of the audio was not the best. There's a thing called Ecamm, and you can do Skype, but we were trying to find people who were like, who uses Skype? Like people had to create profiles.
Right.
Use it, which we had to create a profile to use it. So that was just like one of the recommended ones. One of the recommended ways when I was doing some research on it, and the audio was terrible. It was too complicated. People don't use Skype anymore. So they do one for FaceTime that I guess you can record FaceTime, but still the audio is not the best. Like you want to have like a nicer microphone. So Zoom's always great because you can have, even if it's going to be audio only, it's still great to connect with people, like seeing them so you can read their body language. You can be more personable, especially if you've never met them before in person. Then you're going to record your 3 episodes. You're going to edit your episodes, save your episodes as MP3. Next is going to be podcast launch prep. So you want to do this 1 week before launch. And here I personally use Libsyn, but Anchor is such an easy way, and plus it's free. So Libsyn, I pay about $15 a month. But I'm starting to see that Anchor has that and more, and it's free. So if you guys want to use Libsyn the nerdy way, like that I use it, you can go, and if you use promo code LEGEND, I do have an affiliation with them, so I can able to offer people like it's almost 2 months free of using Libsyn. Enter your show details, upload your episodes. So next we're going to be talking about your platforms. So the great thing about podcasts is you just upload it once into one platform, and they have a thing that's called RSS. It's like your RSS feed, like your link, and Apple will take that link, and then they'll publish it to their outlet. Google Play will take it and then publish it to theirs. Stitcher will take it and publish to theirs. iHeartRadio, same thing. And then you want to do like a website launch. If you want to, and this is just talking about strategy wise, like launching it, you can kind of tease people with it, do a contest, things like that. And then just be consistent and everything. So before I get started, is there anything else you want to talk about before I actually show you guys how to create your podcast?
No, I mean, I think that's fantastic. Yeah. If any of you guys listening in, with us have any questions, or when you're watching this, feel free to connect with Hollie, and she can walk you through any of these, anything that you have. Cool. Yeah. Kelly said, great outline. So, definitely helpful.
Perfect.
And, definitely will get that shared with everybody as well. Cool. Let's walk through Anchor. I think that's, just to really put this all together of how easy it really is.
Yes. The hard part is just like making time to record, right? It doesn't have to be super hard. Kat can definitely attest to this. When we launched her podcast, she was like, I'm not techie enough. I gave her the outline. I did a video tutorial, and she's still like, this is crazy. Well, then we discovered Anchor, and I'm like, girl, I got the solution to your problem. Anchor. It's super easy. So I'm literally going to set up, and this is going to be a way for me to push John off of the get him off of the fence. So I'm going to create John's as we're walking through this.
Oh boy, here we go.
And you can, there's also an app that you can literally, let's see here. Let's sign up. There's an app that you can download on your phone and literally sign up from your phone too. So like, I think I know that's how we launched Cats. We launched Cats as we were sitting at the boat dock. You and Jay and Alex were working on like the music or whatever, stereo. And me and Kat were sitting there launching our podcast. So like, It's like they literally sat there on the dock while Alex and Kinder and myself were in his boat working on. Well, I wasn't. I was overseeing,
supervising, and making sure everybody's drink was taken care of. But they sat there on the dock while we were messing with the stereo and the dang boat and launched her podcast.
It's super easy, you guys. Like, seriously. She even recorded her first episode there too. Like, you can hear like the music in the background.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's how easy it is. So
yeah. So literally just sign an account. You guys see what it takes. It's just your name, your email. Cool. So now let's talk about like making your first episode. So you don't have to necessarily, like there's a handful of ways that you can do it through Anchor. You can go through and do it with Zoom. Or you can do it like with a recorder, however it is. If you're doing it in person, obviously you're not going to be using Zoom. You're going to be using like a recorder. And I can tell you guys a couple of recorders too. Like when we post this on Facebook, I can put in the links, some of the recorders that are really good to use. But you can also like literally record it on your phone right there. So that's what Kat did. So like when you click, let's do this, you can like click record and like literally record your episode. But I'm not going to record yours right now because I don't want to launch it. Well, I don't want to be your first episode. But like you can record it, or you can just go to your library. There's nothing there and you can just add it into it. So like you can drag and drop an episode right here. So like from your desktop, you can literally.
But the easiest way is to just hit record right on the Anchor app on your phone or wherever, and just
yeah,
start recording.
You literally just record your episode right there. Now, if you're doing like an interview style with somebody over like Zoom, that's obviously not going to be the option, because you're gonna have to record it beforehand on another platform. But yeah, you record it right there. You drag and drop your recorded one, or you just record it right there. Next is you set up your podcast. So you do your name. Is it just going to be Legacy Podcast or The Legacy Podcast? What is this?
So yourlegacypodcast.com is the URL.
So it's Your Legacy Podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to put your description. I'll let you come back and do that. But it's about the show. Choose your category. Is it business news? Is it education, health? For me, it was like self-help. You can obviously go back, John, and change this, but it's not going to continue without it. But literally just talk about it. Now your cover art. So like this is even super easy. You can find a photo and use. You can upload a photo, or you can just have them choose one for you. And I don't have your logo with me. I don't believe on this one. But you can go through and change, create something, or just build it yourself. I'm not going to do that right now, but we'll just continue. I guess you guys have to. Let's do this. Let's let them choose one for us. Probably not that one.
We'll come back and change it.
Okay, cool. Let's just do this one then. And then like you can do font.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll have to come back and change it anyways.
Yeah. Cool. I just want to show you guys how easy it is to launch it.
And for those of you, listening in that joined, were with us in Cincinnati. I mean, you saw Michael do it with Gaydosh, right there at the front of the room in just matter of minutes. So it's definitely this easy.
It is. It really is. I know we didn't get the opportunity to see the behind the scenes of the creating. That's why I wanted to show you guys how easy it is just to create it. So like now your podcast is setting up. So usually Apple iTunes takes about 5 days. Google Play is about 2 days. Spotify is almost immediately. And let me see. So from Anchor does everything. It'll publish it on Spotify. You don't have to go and sign up for Apple or anything. The only thing I believe that it does not set you up on is iHeartRadio, which it's super easy to get on there. You just go to iHeartRadio or iHeart.com, I believe, and then find the application for a podcast, and you just fill out this like Google form, and then they'll update you whenever you get on. iHeart is a little bit more. I would say usually takes about up to 2 weeks to get approved there. For mine, like they made me have to be on air, I think, for like 2 months. So it's just kind of crazy, but that's an outlet that you have to just go through and go on. And what I did is I went to like Gary V's website and I saw all the platforms that he was on. And then I just went and if I wasn't already on there automatically from Libsyn, I just went and applied, or I did whatever to get on there. But for those who you guys are using it right now, I mean, this is definitely more than enough, because it's going to put you on iTunes. It's going to put you on Google Play. It's going to put you on Spotify. So really that's it. I mean, now your podcast is launched, minus you have no audio, but you know what I mean? Like you guys can go through here and share like your page. It looks good. You can listen to it on Spotify. There's nothing to listen to, but whatever.
I love it.
Cool. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys who are out there who are wanting to launch a podcast. It's super easy.
And what are some ways to, to create and leverage, the podcasts, to really, to help? I know one is leveraging the podcast to get on other people's podcasts, but also to get people like you were sharing, like you were talking about, right? Like, you knew Maury. And so that just kind of opens other doors. You have Stuman, then you can open other doors, right? You can say, hey, we interviewed Ryan, I know you guys are, close. You spoke at his event. I'd love to have you on the show. So those are great ways to leverage and use your podcast. What are some other ways? I mean, obviously building the audience, but is there any other ways that you're looking at besides obviously the monetization? We've talked about that, but just any other tidbits and things that could really use your podcast to help leverage?
I think you can definitely, like if you want to start to get into public speaking, I know that's something my personal goal is to get more into public speaking. Is now I want to be able to utilize as a platform, and then now I can use this to talk from a stage on either like how to connect with people, or I could talk about how to, build your platform, whatever it is. But it's public speaking is another one. Networking is huge. And I think it's also like just partnering with people too, like it being around people you want to be around. That's not necessarily in your town or anything like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think another great example is even with, like what you had mentioned earlier on with Roland, right? And, just having him on and him, waking up to have a message in your inbox of him just saying, hey, anything I can do to help you. It's like, maybe you can, right? Maybe there is a way that, we can, find a way to continue and grow this relationship. So exactly. There's definitely things there. It helps you. It's like, it's what, Gary talks about. I mean, it's your main piece of content that you can, break apart and leverage on all the other platforms to really, create that audience, add value, and just really help, create that awareness for whatever it is that you want to create the awareness for.
And it's so crazy too, is it's like the authority that it establishes. Like, Zane's karate teacher, he was like, oh, I need to talk with you. You're a big radio host, right? And I'm like it threw me off guard. I'm like, radio host? Oh, the podcast. I said, no, it's more of like, that's more of like an intent-based, like digital marketing type perspective. But absolutely we can talk, because now he can create a podcast about martial arts or whatever it is that he's wanting to talk about. And then like another example was there's this radio DJ that I listened to in Lawton, Oklahoma as a kid. Somehow we got the reception from Rush Springs, but she was on the radio. And I remember listening to her as a kid. And the other day she reached out to me and was like, hey, I would love for you to help me on like the next phase or next journey or whatever, talking about like podcasting and stuff. I'm like, this is crazy how like these people, I'm like, it's so easy. Like it's so easy, but people, I mean, they do respect it, but you have to be consistent too. You can't just drop 1 or 2 episodes and then stop. Like you've got to keep consistently doing it, and do it with intention too. Don't just put out content just to put out content. I mean, it's almost like any other thing, right? You're not just going to do a Facebook post without some intention behind it when it comes to business. You're not going to want to launch a podcast episode without any intention behind it, because it could definitely flop and it would definitely hurt you or make you not seem as very professional as you're wanting to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes time, right? For people, even, I mean, this this expert mentor series of episodes, I mean, it even took time, right? And, I mean, we're 65 episodes deep and there's so many nuggets and so much value that I can promise you there's very few folks that have even scratched the surface or dove into that particular content. So you never know what's going to resonate, what's going to hook somebody, get somebody in and listening. And, if they really get hooked, they see the value, they're going to dive a little bit deeper with you, and whatever it is that you do. And, for you, I mean, it's a means to a bigger picture. Yeah, you have the online boutique, but like you said, you're doing these, do it yourself type strategies that you're able to provide. And obviously it's pushing and opening doors at a higher level. So it's fantastic. You said consistency. Is there anything else that people need to really kind of pay attention to that will really help them, to stay consistent? I guess my question is, what are some hurdles? What are some challenges? What are some things that kind of trip you up a little bit in staying consistent with the podcasts?
So for me, I'm last minute Lucy, you know that. But it's, and John Lee Dumas had talked about it in the episode that I had interviewed him. It's batch. It's called a batch process, or it's called batch recording, where like literally you pick a day of the month or a week, preferably month, because now you have them all done. You can even maybe do it twice a month, but identify maybe who or what you're going to be talking about, and then literally just sit down and record for like 2 hours, record for 3 hours, however long you can record, and put out valuable content. So you want to have that pipeline going up, because it feels good knowing, okay, next week I've already got an episode that's already ready to, like, next week Roland's is going to be dropping, or next week, whoever is going to be dropping. So like do batch recordings. Also don't be afraid to do like a throwback. I personally haven't done this because I don't have enough content yet to do it. But like Gary V, the perfect example of, if you listen to a lot of his podcasts, a lot of them are like keynotes from him talking like 2 years ago.
Recirculates the content.
Yeah, he does. And so like maybe like you spoke at an event like a handful of years ago. Now you can just talk about like a quick intro of, hey everyone. You could talk about it, or you can have somebody like a Fiverr voiceover and just say, in this episode, Hollie is going to be talking about to a group of 500 home stagers. I'm just thinking about like the last time I was on stage was at HSRA. So it's like talking about like this, and then just plug in that recording or the audio from that event. Another thing too, that you just kind of scrolling away from that, that I plan to use with this podcast is, I want to have a book, not so much as like, oh, I want to have a book for my kids to read or this, that, and the other. I just want to have a book as far as like authority piece. And I'm literally going to wait for a year. And that's going to be volume 1 of Unleash Your Inner Legend. Is going to be literally the transcription of all the podcast episodes. So that's another way too, is like you can transcribe them into a blog. You can transcribe them into a book.
100%.
There's other ways to use that. But as far as like consistency goes, definitely make sure you have some in the pipeline. Already be connecting with people like Mike McAllowicks. I think I hit him up back in May. And it was, yes, I would love to be on your podcast. Here's my girl to talk to get on your schedule. Well, I get with her and she's like, oh yeah, he doesn't have an opening till August. Back then that seemed really far away. And I'm like, right. Oh my gosh, like that's crazy. Well, here we are at July 24th. It's going to be coming up within the next couple of weeks.
Right.
So like go ahead and reach out to those big people. And a lot of people have their calendar already laid out and they're already booked up. I know Jasmine Starr, I had reached out to her, and her lady had connected back with me and said, like she was like, they're about to opening it up for their October slots. So now she's on my connect back with list. Heck, you guys, I even reached out to Ed Mollett, and he gave me his girl's like email, whatever. And she just said at this time he's not doing it. But you know what? That was okay, because now I have her freaking email, so I can hit her up back whenever I hit up Jasmine Starr and say, hey, like, this is our podcast. I've had Ryan Stewman. Now I can start kind of name dropping and putting like the seriousness of it. Because when I first started reaching out to people, and this is where I kind of messed up, I feel like looking back, is my message was, I'm about to launch. Well, people like Ed Mollett, people like Jasmine Starr that have, like they're pretty established people. They don't want to be on an about to launch podcast. right? It's funny because I remember reaching out to JLD way back in the day when Donna and I had first started the podcast. My question to him was, what was it? It was, how do I get these musicians on here or whatever? And he said, it's simple. Just build a podcast they want to be on. And then that's kind of cool because now I built a podcast that he wanted to be on. So it's like, it's kind of always, you know, throwing it out there in the universe and not being discouraged. I mean, people are going to say no. Like I said, that Erica girl, she told me no for Ed. It's like, no, and unfortunately this time he's not able to commit to anything like that.
Absolutely.
Cool. Now I got your email, girl. I'm going to be following up with you in a couple of months. I mean, you just
awesome.
Just keep going at it, and then just don't be afraid to do it. Also, don't overcommit yourself. I know a lot of people, like, you know, JLD, he had his daily podcast. That's freaking awesome. That's amazing. It made him stand out back in the day when podcasting was new. But to me, thinking about that I would be overcommitting myself, and I would get burned out probably on day 7. And that would cause me to drop my consistency.
Right.
So
You wouldn't stay with it.
I committed once a week. I want to do twice a week, but I'm not yet in the place that I can, or I could, but I feel like right now is not a good time to do that. So I don't want to overcommit myself so that I can stay consistent with it.
Great. Absolutely. Those are just fantastic nuggets there. And I really appreciate you taking the time. Absolutely amazing. And definitely look forward to getting this out to everybody with all of the deliverables so you guys can get your podcasts up and out. For anybody listening in to the recording, you know, on Facebook or in the Expert Mentors tool, you know, please share, you know, some love for Miss Hollie, and, you know, feel free to reach out with any questions or anything that you guys need. And appreciate all of you, and we'll definitely catch you on the next episode.